Hi, it's Lindsay. Welcome back to the Wandering Reader. Today I'm going to be doing a massive unhaul. I haven't done an unhaul on my channel before, but I've been having a look at my shelves. I've been getting quite full up lately, looking very untidy, especially the one that I have downstairs. And I decided that I needed to sort them out a little bit more and get rid of a load of books that I didn't particularly want to read, or that I'd read and then wasn't interested in keeping. So this is going to be quite a long video anyway, because there are a lot of books to get through. I will be donating these to my local charity shop. You guys know how I love to go browsing through the book section in a charity shop. So yeah, hopefully these will go and find new good homes, and somebody else will enjoy reading them in the future. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking about why I'm getting rid of them. Yeah, because otherwise we'll be here until next year, and I'm sure you don't want to watch a 40-minute video. So I'm going to start with a pile of books that I haven't read and don't really have a lot of interest in reading now. So these are going to go off of my Goodreads list. The first one is The Edge of Reason, Bridget Jones' The Edge of Reason by Helen Fielding. I'm also getting rid of Bridget Jones's Diary as well. I read Bridget Jones's Diary quite a few years ago now. Not really interested in picking up the second one now. I'd rather watch the films, to be honest, so they can go to a new home. Dracula by Bram Stoker. It's a lovely edition. I've heard it's quite difficult to get through, and it's not particularly a classic that I'm interested in picking up at the moment. And then I've got Philomena by Martin Sixsmith. I picked this up when the film came out. I'm a sucker for stuff like that. And it looked quite sweet at the time, but I haven't picked it up and it's been sort of 3 or 4 years, so that's going. I've got A Possible Life by Sebastian Faulks. Yeah, not really interested in reading this. Plus, why do publishers make such massive versions of them? It's just so much taller than my other books. Yeah, not interested in reading that. I've got here Strange Meeting by Susan Hill. I've read, I think, the opening chapter of this. It's a really sort of old Penguin edition. Maybe I'll pick it up at some point in the future, but if I do it'll be a different edition. Don't really like this one. You Don't Have to Live Like This by Benjamin Markovits. My husband read this year. He picked it up. I had it on my TBR. He didn't think that much of it, so I'm going to get rid of it and take it off of mine. I've got Temptation by Douglas Kennedy. I used to really love Douglas Kennedy's books. I've read quite a few of his. They're sort of contemporary adult romances, and I've had this on my shelf for a good, I would say, 5 or 6 years and still haven't picked it up, so I'm going to get rid of it. Then I've got here The End of Mr. Y by Scarlett Thomas. Yeah, Scarlett Thomas. Again, this is one that my husband read and he didn't really think much of, so again I'm going to take it off of my TBR. I've got here The Accidental Tourist by Anne Tyler. Again, I've had this for 7 or 8 years. I haven't had the inclination to pick it up. I used to have a friend who really liked Anne Tyler, but yeah, I'm not really interested in reading it. I've got a couple of Sherlock Holmes novels here. I've got A Study in Scarlet and the Sign of Fall and The Return of Sherlock Holmes by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. I won these in like a murder mystery evening, but I have a whole bind up here of his novels. It's the complete works of his, so I don't really need these as well, so I'm going to get rid of these. I have here The Good Father by Noel Hawley, another one that my husband read and he quite enjoyed, but I'm not that interested in reading it. This is The Savage Garden by Mark Mills. This is a historical fiction novel set in 1958 in Tuscany. Again, I've had it on my shelf for 7 or 8 years. If I haven't picked it up by now, do you know, when am I going to? This is A Long Way by Sebastian Barry. Shortlisted for the Man Booker Prize. This is a novel set, I think, during the First World War. Yeah, during the First World War. Yeah, I'm not particularly interested in reading this for some reason. I've got here Devil May Care, again by Sebastian Faulks. This is him writing as Ian Fleming. It's a bit of a sort of battered copy of it. And my husband is collecting a particular edition of all of Ian Fleming's books and would like to read those first before he reads the Sebastian Faulks ones, so I'm going to get rid of that. I have here The First Casualty by Ben Elton. I went through a stage about 6 years ago of really liking Ben Elton's books, so I've got some later in the Unhaul to show you. This is one, he's sort of a satirical writer, so this is one set during World War One. But not really interested in reading his books now. Then I have here Unhaul by Hilary Mantel. I know people love this book. This is a historical fiction book, and the sequel is called Bring Up the Bodies or something like that, and this was made into a TV series and it was shortlisted for loads of awards and things like that. I read the first, I would say probably 100 pages of this. I was bored. It was taking me forever to get through. I just wasn't in the right frame of mind. I haven't picked it up since. It's been years, so I'm going to get rid of it. I have here a couple of Julie Myerson books, Something Might Happen and The Story of You. I think I've read this one actually. But again, I went through a phase just after university of wanting to read her books because she came and spoke about a non-fiction book that she'd written called Home, which was like a she'd gone and done some research on every family that had ever lived in her house, and that's a really good book. I don't have it, I think it's in my mum's loft. So I sort of went through a stage of wanting to read her books. I think I've read this. I have literally no idea what it's about and don't have the inclination to pick up the other one. This is Doglands by Tim Willocks. A student recommended this to me again about 5 years ago. I bought it 5 years ago. It's sat on my shelf ever since. I'm not going to pick it up. This is Brazil by Michael Palin. I've read one of his travel books before and quite enjoyed it. I picked this up a couple of years before the Rio Olympics, sort of in anticipation of learning some more things about Brazil before then. Didn't pick it up. Watched the Rio Olympics have been and gone, and I still haven't read it, so I'll give it a new home somewhere else. Then I have here Touching the Void by Jo Simpson. This is a book that is on the GCSE syllabus for literature, so I thought I'd pick up a copy and read it. It's about mountaineering, but I just haven't had the want to pick it up, so that's going to go. Then I've got My Bookie Book by Russell Brand. My husband has read this quite a few years ago. It's supposed to be quite funny, but I'm not particularly enamoured with Russell Brand. The hype around this is totally gone. So yeah, not going to be reading this one. Then I have here The Female Eunuch by Germaine Greer. This is a non-fiction feminist text. One of those ones that people say that you should read, but just nothing about it grabs me, so not really interested in that one. The Secret River by Kate Grenville. Yes, it's historical fiction. Had it for years. Don't want to pick it up. I've got The Pirate's Daughter by Margaret Césaire Thompson. Again, this is historical fiction. Don't want to read it. And finally, I have Footprints in the Sand by Sarah Chalice. I think, again, this is historical fiction set abroad. Somebody lent me this. I don't remember who it is. Maybe I should give it back to them. If I remember who it is, I will. But it's coming off of my shelf nonetheless. Next set of books I have are books that I've either read and I'm not that interested in keeping, or books that weren't on my TBR because they're my husband's, or I just, yeah, had them for some reason. I wasn't interested in reading them, so they're going for that reason. First one is Kate Atkinson's Life After Life. I didn't enjoy this. I think I might have already put up my books I don't like video, and this is on there, so I'm going to get rid of this. Capricornia by Xavier Herbert. Same thing, read it, didn't think that much of it, not going to keep it. The Wolf of Wall Street by Jordan Belfort. Again, not my cup of tea, getting rid of it. We Were Liars by E. Lockhart. Didn't think that much of it, wasn't interested in the twist, getting rid of it. 3 books here by Ben Elton. Chart Throb, High Society and Dead Famous. They're all satirical works. Quite enjoyed them at the time, but they're nothing kind of special and I don't want to keep them on my shelf. A Tale of Two Cities by Charles Dickens. I've read this. Don't particularly like the edition of it. Bought this in Italy actually when I was in Rome, so I'm getting rid of that edition. The Business of Dying by Simon Koenig. This is one of my husband's books. I don't want to read it. Shovel Ready by Adam Sternberg. Another one of my husband's books. I don't want to read it. Last Post by Max Arthur. This is stories of the final word from our First World War soldiers. I bought this book to help me with some lessons I was doing at work. I'm not particularly interested in keeping it now. Arthur and George by Julian Barnes. I've heard some people on BookTube say that they really like this. I didn't think it was that great, so getting rid of it. Life and Laughing by Michael McIntyre. It was fun to read at the time. I did quite enjoy this, but don't particularly want to keep it on my shelf. This is one of my husband's books, Roy Keane, The Second Half. Needless to say, I will not be reading this. The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho. I didn't think that much of this book. This is supposed to be sort of like a modern classic. I thought it was alright, but a bit too preachy at times, and I'm going to get rid of that. I've got the Lonely Planet Guide to New York City here, so I bought this just before we went to New York City. Been there. Not going to keep it. If we go again, we'll get a more up-to-date version so somebody else can snag that up for their trip. I've got Joe Abercrombie's The Blade Itself. My husband bought this. He's a big fantasy reader. Didn't particularly like it. It's certainly not going to be one that I pick up. I don't read a lot of adult fantasy anyway, and if he didn't like it, I'm certainly not going to pick it up. Beautiful Creatures by Cami Garcia and Margaret Stoll. I read this about 5 or 6 years ago. It was quite good at the time, but I've never been interested in buying the other books in the series, so I'm going to donate that one. I've got Why by Marjorie Salona. I quite enjoyed it at the time. It's about a girl who she's dumped at the doors of a YMCA by her mother, and she never knows who she is growing up. It was alright at the time, but I don't think it was anything special, so I'm going to get rid of that. I've got Sisterland by Curtis Sittenfeld. This is about twins who, one of them thinks that she has psychic abilities, and it's about sort of like a town in America and this big sort of tragedy that's supposedly coming. I thought it was quite good. It was quite a fun read, but again, not one that I want to keep on my shelf. Natural Causes by James Oswald. Again, this is a thriller that my husband bought. I don't particularly want to read it. I've got The Fellowship of the Ring by J.R.R. Tolkien. We have more than one copy of this, so this is a surplus copy. So don't need more than one copy, so I'm going to get rid of that one. Rivers of London by Ben Aronovich. Again, a book my husband read, a fantasy novel, one that he's not really interested in continuing, so that's going to go. The last little set of books I'm going to show you are ones that I won in a foils competition. It was sort of like a translated fiction competition, and I've had them, I reckon, for about 2 years now. I've never felt the urge to pick them up. They're brand new. Most of them are hardback editions, and I think they've all won the English Pen Awards, which must be some sort of translated fiction award. I'm not really sure, to be honest. But I thought, well, if they're just going to sit around on my shelf, then I might as well go and find better homes with people that will actually enjoy them. So I've got Reckless by Hassan Ali Toptus. I've got Birth of a Theorem by Cedric Villani. I've got All Days and Night by Peter Starm. Gone to Ground by Marie Halovich Simon. The Ravens by Thomas Bannerhead. The End of Days by Jenny Erpenbeck. Sworn Virgin by Elvira Dons. The Book of Sins by Chen Zero. The Sky Wept Fire by Mikhail Eldin. And then I have some random one that should have been in an earlier pile but isn't, and that is The Secret Life of Watermitty by James Thurber. My husband picked this up because of the film, and it wasn't what he was expecting it to be in the slightest, so I have no interest in raising it either, so that's going to go. So, well done if you're still here. That was 62 books. I'm not even going to attempt to pick them up even for the thumbnail, so I'll do something else with that. But yeah, well done for making it to the end. I love having a good clear out. You know, can't get rid of everything because I love having my favourites on my shelf and ones that I really enjoyed and ones that I want to recommend and things like that, but I don't have an infinite amount of space, unfortunately, so have to have a rearrange every now and again. So I'd love for you to have a chat with me in the comments about how do you decide what books to get rid of and what books you keep on your shelf. So what sort of system do you have in deciding that? Yeah, thanks very much for watching, guys, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.